The Mallory station had been dead for 200 years, but its lights still flickered in the darkness of space. Lieutenant Pavel Sorin watched the readings on his console as the human vessel Odyssey drifted closer to the massive structure. The station was beautiful in a haunting way. Silver spires reaching outward like frozen fingers, windows dark except for the occasional spark of failing power systems. "No life signs," he reported to Admiral Reina Okonkwo, who stood behind him with her arms crossed. "But the distress signal is still broadcasting. It has been repeating the same message for 2 centuries. The Admiral nodded slowly. She had seen many strange things in her 30 years of service, but this felt different. The Mallory were supposed to be a thriving civilization. Their trade ships had visited a dozen systems. Their art and music had spread across the Orion Arm. Then one day they simply stopped. No war, no plague, no explanation. They just vanished. "Send a boarding team," the Admiral ordered. "I want to know what happened here." The team entered through an airlock that still functioned perfectly. Inside, the station looked like its inhabitants had left moments ago. Food sat on tables, long since turned to dust. Personal items lay scattered on floors. A child's toy rested against a wall, waiting for an owner who would never return. But there were no bodies, no bones, no signs of violence or disease. The Mallory had not died here. They had simply ceased to exist. Sorin spent 3 days searching the station's archives. Most files were corrupted, but he found fragments of messages from other species. The Venari had gone silent 8 decades before the Mallory, the Asari before them, the Kel before them. A pattern emerged. Every 50 to 80 years, another civilization disappeared. The pattern stretched back thousands of years, hundreds of species all gone. He presented his findings to Admiral Okonkwo in her private quarters. She listened without interrupting, her face growing darker with each word. "Someone is hunting intelligent life," Sorin concluded. "Systematically, methodically, and they have been doing it for a very long time." The Admiral stood and walked to the window. Stars burned in the void beyond, each one potentially home to a species that no longer existed. "Did you find anything about who is responsible?" One message survived almost intact. It came from a species called the Harathi. They were erased about 4,000 years ago. Sorin pulled up the file on his tablet. "They called the hunters the Scourge. The message says they come when a civilization reaches a certain level of technology. They do not negotiate. They do not explain. They simply arrive, and then that species is gone." "Gone how?" "That is the strange part, Admiral. The Harathi said the Scourge do not just kill, they erase. No bodies remain, no artifacts survive, no memories persist in other species. It is as if the erased civilization never existed at all." Admiral Okonkwo was silent for a long moment. "Then how did this message survive?" "The Mallory used a unique storage method, crystalline memory cores buried deep in their station. The Scourge technology apparently could not reach them." Sorin paused. "Admiral, there is more. The Harathi message ends with a warning. They detected something entering their system just before transmission cut off. They described it as a Nautilus shell made of living metal." Before the Admiral could respond, her communicator crackled to life. "Admiral Okonkwo, this is Deep Space Array 7. We have detected an unknown object entering the outer solar system. It is massive, ma'am, larger than our moon, and it is heading directly for Earth." The Admiral looked at Sorin. In his eyes, she saw the same fear that gripped her own heart. "What does it look like?" she asked the communicator. A pause, then, "Ma'am, it looks like a Nautilus shell, made of some kind of metal that seems to be moving." 200 years ago, the Mallory had received a similar report. They had probably felt the same fear, asked the same questions. And then they were gone, erased from existence as if they had never been. Admiral Okonkwo straightened her shoulders. Whatever was coming, humanity would face it. They had no other choice. "Get me a line to Earth Command," she ordered, "and start transmitting everything we have found here. If we are going to fight this thing, we need to know what we are dealing with." Outside the window, the stars continued to burn, but now they seemed less like beacons of hope and more like graves, markers for all the species that had risen, dreamed, built, and then been wiped away by something that considered their existence an inconvenience. The hunt had found humanity. The question was whether humanity would become another silent grave among the stars, or something else. Entirely. 7 billion humans looked up at the night sky and saw their death waiting. The Scourge vessel had stopped at the orbit of Neptune 3 weeks ago. It hung there like a tumor in the darkness, visible even from Earth as a faint spiral of reflected light. News channels ran constant coverage. Religious movements declared the end times. Governments tried to maintain calm while secretly preparing for the worst. Dr. Amara Diallo had not slept in 4 days. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she had been tasked with establishing communication with the entity. She sat in a small room aboard the carrier Persistence, surrounded by screens displaying wave patterns and translation algorithms. "Anything yet?" Admiral Okonkwo asked from the doorway. Amara shook her head. "They are not using any form of communication I recognize. No radio waves, no light signals, nothing physical at all." Then how did the other species communicate with them? "I do not think they did. Based on the Melori archives, the Scourge simply arrived and began the erasure. No warnings, no demands, no." Pain exploded in Amara's skull. She gasped and grabbed her head as images flooded her mind. Stars dying, worlds burning, species screaming as they faded from existence. And beneath it all, a voice that was not a voice, speaking directly into her thoughts. "You have been observed." "They are in my head," Amara whispered. "They are speaking through thought." Admiral Okonkwo rushed to her side. "What are they saying?" "You have been judged." "They say we have been observed and judged." Amara's hands trembled. "There is more coming. Humanity will be collected in 7 rotations. This is mercy. You will not suffer. You will simply cease. Your atoms will be returned to the cosmos. Your timeline will be PRUNED. It will be as if you never were." Amara repeated the message aloud. The room fell silent. "Ask them why," the Admiral said quietly. Amara focused her thoughts, pushing back against the presence in her mind. "Why are you doing this? What have we done to deserve erasure?" A pause, then new images flooded her consciousness. Ancient wars between species that had grown too powerful, weapons that shattered planets, plagues engineered to kill trillions. The Scourge showed her the galaxy as it once was, a burning wasteland of endless conflict. "We brought peace. We ended the wars. When a species reaches the threshold of danger, we remove them before. They can harm others. This is our purpose. This is mercy." "They think they are saving the galaxy," Amara said. "They believe erasure is kindness." Admiral Okonkwo's jaw tightened. "Tell them we refuse. Tell them humanity will not accept this." Amara relayed the message. The response came immediately, tinged with something that felt almost like confusion. "No species has ever refused. Refusal is not possible. The collection will proceed." "We are not like other species," Amara thought back. "We will fight." Silence, then a feeling that Amara could only describe as ancient laughter. "Others have tried to hide. Others have tried to run. None have succeeded. You are small. You are young. You are alone. In 7 rotations, you will be nothing." The presence withdrew from her mind, leaving Amara gasping and shaking. She looked at Admiral Okonkwo with tears streaming down her face. "7 days," she said. "We have 7 days." The Admiral stood still for a long moment. Then she walked to the communication console and opened a channel to every human ship, every station, every colony, and every person on Earth. "This is Admiral Riina Okonkwo. I am speaking to all of humanity. An alien force has given us 7 days to accept our extinction. They have done this to hundreds of species before us. Every single one of them is gone." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I am not going to pretend we can win this fight. I am not going to promise survival. But I am going to promise this. We will not go quietly. We will not accept erasure. Every ship that can fly will fight. Every person who can hold a weapon will resist. And if we must die, we will die so loudly that the galaxy will never forget humanity existed. She ended the transmission. Outside, the Scourge vessel began to unfold. Its massive shell split apart, revealing thousands of smaller ships within. Each one was a hunter. Each one was designed for one purpose: to erase. The hunt had begun, but for the first time in millions of years, the prey was preparing to bite back. Under the streets of Lagos, 10,000 people were digging. Sergeant Kofi Mensah wiped sweat from his forehead as he watched the tunneling machines carve deeper into the earth. Above ground, a Scourge probe drifted silently over the city, scanning every building, recording every face, cataloging every piece of art and music and memory that made Lagos what it was. The Scourge were not attacking, yet they were documenting, creating a perfect record of everything they were about to destroy. "Why do they do this?" a young soldier asked Mensah. "Why record us if they are just going to erase us?" Mensah did not have an answer. Perhaps the Scourge kept trophies, perhaps they were simply thorough, or perhaps, after millions of years, they had simply forgotten why they did anything. In orbit, Commander Lena Petrov refused to wait for the erasure to begin. Her fleet was small, 23 ships against thousands of Scourge hunters, suicide by any reasonable measure. But Petrov had never been reasonable. "Target the nearest hunter," she ordered from the bridge of her cruiser, the Defiant. "All weapons ready." "Commander, our weapons barely scratch them in simulations." "Then we will scratch them for real and see what happens. Fire." Missiles and energy beams slammed into the Scourge hunter. Its hull rippled like water absorbing stones. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a crack appeared. "We heard it," Petrov breathed. "It can be hurt." The Scourge hunter turned toward them, and Petrov felt the alien presence push against her mind. "You cannot win. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are fragile. Surrender to mercy." "We do not want your mercy," Petrov responded through gritted teeth. "All ships attack pattern Delta, hit it again." The human fleet swarmed around the hunter, striking from every angle. More cracks appeared in its hull. Strange fluid leaked from the wounds. Then the hunter adapted. Its surface shifted, becoming something new. The next volley of missiles bounced off harmlessly. Energy beams scattered into nothing. In seconds, the Scourge had evolved beyond human weapons. "You learn slowly. We learn instantly. This is why you will be erased." The hunter struck back. 2 human ships vanished in bright flashes of light, not destroyed, erased. One moment they existed. The next, they were gone as if they had never been built. "Fall back," Petrov ordered. "All ships retreat." The fleet scattered into the asteroid belt. The hunter did not pursue. It had made its point. Back on Earth, Dr. Amara Diallo studied the battle recordings with desperate focus. She had found something in the Melori archives that gave her hope. The crystalline storage cores had survived the erasure. The Scourge technology could not penetrate certain materials. "We cannot beat them in a straight fight," she told Admiral Okonkwo. "They adapt too quickly, but we might be able to outlast them." "How?" "The Scourge erase species completely. No bodies, no artifacts, no memories. But if we spread far enough, hide deep enough, store our records in materials they cannot reach, we become impossible to fully erase," the Admiral understood. "Even if they get most of us, something survives." "Exactly, and as long as something survives, humanity continues." That night, Admiral Okonkwo authorized Project Diaspora. Thousands of small ships would scatter in every direction, each one carrying humans, DNA samples, historical records, and crystalline storage cores. They would fly to the darkest corners of the galaxy, hide on dead moons and in asteroid fields, bury themselves so deep that no hunter could find them. The Scourge could chase them, the Scourge could kill most of them, but they could not kill all of them. Sergeant Mensah continued digging under Lagos. His bunker would hold 10,000 crystalline cores, each one containing the complete record of human civilization. Art, music, literature, science, the faces of every person who had ever lived. If humanity was erased from the universe, these cores would remain, buried, waiting, proof that 7 billion people had once laughed and loved and dreamed under a yellow sun. The Scourge had hunted hundreds of species into oblivion, but they had never hunted a species that refused to be forgotten. Above Lagos, the Scourge probe completed its scan and moved on. It did not notice the tunnels below. It did not understand why humans were digging instead of surrendering. It would learn. The Sora had been hiding for 300 years. They lived in hollowed-out asteroids at the edge of the galaxy, their population reduced from billions to barely 50,000. Their homeworld was gone. Their history was gone. Only scattered survivors remained, waiting for the day the Scourge would find them and finish the job. Then the human ship arrived. Captain Joseph Brennan guided the Defiance through the asteroid field carefully. His vessel was small, one of thousands scattered across the galaxy by Project Diaspora. For 6 months, he had been running from Scourge hunters, losing crew members with every encounter. But he had also been learning. "Unknown vessel," a voice crackled over the radio. The accent was strange, the words clumsy, but the language was recognizable. Some ancient trade tongue, that doctor. Diallo had found in the Melori archives. "You enter Sora space, state your purpose, or be destroyed." Brennan smiled, destroyed. The Sora still had fight in them. "I am human," he responded. "The Scourge came for my people too. I am here to offer an alliance." Silence, then. "Alliance against the Scourge is impossible. They cannot be defeated." "Maybe not," Brennan admitted. "But they can be hurt, they can be delayed, and they can be confused. Let me show you what I mean." The Sora were small, gray-skinned beings with large eyes adapted for the darkness of their asteroid homes. Their leader, an elderly female named Ressa, listened as Brennan explained what humanity had discovered. "The Scourge adapt to every weapon," he said, "but they adapt slowly to tactics. They expect prey to run or hide. They do not expect prey to attack, and they definitely do not expect prey to work together." "You are suggesting we fight alongside humans." "I am suggesting we fight alongside everyone, every species the Scourge has marked for erasure. If we scatter alone, they will hunt us down one by one. But if we coordinate, if we share information and resources, if we become a single enemy spread across 1,000 systems." "They cannot chase all of us at once," Ressa finished. Her eyes brightened with something Brennan had not seen in any alien species: hope. Within weeks, the alliance grew. The Sora knew of 3 other hiding species. Those species knew of others. Brennan's crew taught them human tactics: ambush and retreat, misdirection, sacrifice plays that bought time for others to escape. In return, the aliens shared technology and knowledge that humans had never imagined. The Scourge noticed. A coordinator, one of the higher intelligences within the collective, reached out to the human fleet. "Your behavior is unprecedented. Species do not form alliances after being marked. Species do not attack after being shown mercy. Explain." Brennan responded personally. "You have been hunting grass-eaters for 1,000,000 years. You forgot what happens when you corner something with teeth." "Teeth are irrelevant. We have faced warriors before, all were erased." "Then why are you talking to me instead of erasing me?" Silence. It was a small crack, but it was enough. Near the Vega system, the Alliance sprang its first major trap. 12 Scourge hunters pursued a fleeing human vessel into what they thought was a dead system. Instead, they found 40 Allied ships waiting. The battle was brutal. 6 Allied ships were erased. But when it was over, 3 Scourge hunters were destroyed, actually destroyed, their remains scattered across space like the corpses of fallen gods. It was the first time in recorded history that the Scourge had lost a battle. News spread across the hidden networks of surviving species. The Scourge could be killed. They could be beaten. All it took was coordination, sacrifice, and the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. More species joined the alliance. Some brought weapons, others brought ships. A few brought nothing but their bodies and their willingness to fight. Brennan welcomed them all. Admiral Okonkwo, still commanding Earth's defense, received his report with quiet satisfaction. "We are not winning yet," she told her officers. "But we are no longer losing. The Scourge expected to erase a single species in 7 days. Instead, they face a coalition that grows stronger every week." She authorized a new message to be broadcast across all frequencies, in every language the Alliance knew. To the Scourge Collective, humanity offers one chance for peace. Meet us as equals, or we will continue to grow. We will teach every species in the galaxy how to fight. We will turn your hunting grounds into battlefields. The prey are becoming predators. Choose wisely. Deep within the Nautilus moon, something ancient stirred. The Scourge Prime had slept for 100,000 years. Now it woke to find its perfect system falling apart. And it was curious. The galaxy had never seen a fleet like this. 1,000 ships from 47 species gathered at the edge of the Scourge home system. They were battered, scarred, held together by desperate repairs and stubborn will. Many had been built by species that the Scourge had tried to erase. Now they hung together in formation, waiting for the order to advance. Admiral Riina Okonkwo stood at the center of the Allied command ship. Around her, representatives from every Allied species watched through screens and neural links. This was the moment everything had been building toward. "The Scourge Prime has agreed to speak with us," she announced. "This is either the beginning of peace or the end of everything. Either way, we face it together." She felt the presence enter her mind before she saw it. The Scourge Prime was not like the Coordinators or the Hunters. It was older, deeper. Its thoughts pressed against her consciousness like the weight of mountains. "I have watched the galaxy burn. I have seen civilizations rise and destroy each other, trillions dead in wars that accomplished nothing. I created the collective to end the suffering, to bring peace through mercy." Images flooded Okonkwo's mind, ancient battles, weapons that cracked planets, species that had built paradise and then burned it to ash. She understood why the Prime had chosen erasure. It was not cruelty, it was exhaustion. "You brought silence, not peace," she responded. "You ended the suffering by ending the sufferers. Every species you erased might have grown beyond war. They might have changed. You took that chance from them. They would have destroyed themselves. History proves this. History proves some species fail. It does not prove all species must. You judged us guilty before we had the chance to prove our innocence." The Prime was silent. Across the neural link, Okonkwo felt something she had never expected from the ancient being: doubt. Behind her, Ambassador Yuki Tanaka stepped forward. "We offer an alternative. Let the collective join the alliance, not as hunters, but as partners. Help us build connections between species. Share your knowledge. If conflict threatens the galaxy, we will face it together, not through erasure, but through cooperation." "A species that grows dangerous will be given help before it becomes dangerous," Tanaka interrupted. "Isolation breeds fear, fear breeds conflict, connection breeds understanding. Your way has failed for 1,000,000 years. Let us try something new." The Prime considered. Its consciousness touched the minds of every allied species, reading their thoughts, their hopes, their fears. It found something unexpected: forgiveness. These species had been hunted, nearly erased, and yet they were offering partnership to their hunters. "Why do you not hate us?" Okonkwo answered, "Because hate is how wars begin. We are trying to end them." Not all of the collective agreed. A faction of hunters rejected the Prime's hesitation. They broke away, determined to complete the erasure that had been started. Their ships powered weapons and turned toward the Allied fleet. Captain Joseph Brennan led the response. His Defiance dove into battle alongside Sora warships and vessels from a dozen other species. Human pilots flew wing-to-wing with beings they had never seen before. They fought not as separate species, but as one alliance, one purpose. The rogue hunters were destroyed. Their remains drifted among the stars, proof that the scourge could fall. When the battle ended, the Prime spoke again. "It is done, the erasures will stop. The collective will join your alliance. We will try your way." Okonkwo let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Around her, beings from 47 species began to cheer, cry, embrace, and collapse with relief. They had won. Against all odds, they had won. 1 year later, the first Galactic Council met. The chamber was built on the Melori station where humanity had first discovered the truth. Representatives from over 200 species filled the seats. Some were ancient survivors who had hidden for millennia. Others were young civilizations just beginning their journey. In the back, a single scourge representative observed in silence. Admiral Okonkwo addressed the gathering. "We dedicate this council to every species that was erased. We cannot bring them back. We cannot restore their worlds or their histories, but we can ensure they are never forgotten, and we can ensure that no species ever faces erasure again." She paused, looking at the gathered faces. Some familiar, most alien, all of them alive because humanity had refused to accept the rules of the hunt. "Today we are all still here. We survived. We fought. And now we build not an empire, not a weapon, but a family. 1 billion different species united by one simple truth. We are stronger together than we ever were alone." Outside the station, the stars burned bright. They were no longer graves. They were possibilities. And humanity, once marked for deletion, had become the galaxy's greatest hope.